Welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. Today we're talking about notifying agents of an offer. So we've done this video several times, but maybe this will be the one that helps get through to some folks. Because I feel like we get them often where we get the offers that don't tell us everything we need to know. And this is the point, and we've said this so many times, but this is the point where an author gets to take charge, right? A lot of querying is outside of an author's hands. And this is the transitional moment. This is the moment where you tell folks what you need. And we kind of jump through the hoops to get to it. So I wanted to arm everybody with what they need to know to tell us what we need to know.
And also I think sometimes there's this feeling of that you have to do all of this stuff. And I think that, this is sort of the not quite do's and don'ts, but really the etiquette. What can you get away with? What do you have to do? What don't you have to do? As a way to, empower yourself through the process, but also, I know everybody, there's sort of the rhetoric in publishing, especially I feel about burning bridges. And I think there's a fear that's beaten into authors, unfortunately, about the burning of bridges, which I think is a lot harder to do than authors are sometimes led to believe, unfortunately. So we want to talk about sort of the expectations of what you can get away with in a little bit without burning those bridges.
Yeah. So when you receive an offer of representation, this means that an agent has read your book, likes your book, wants to talk to you about potentially working together, will make an offer. Once that's done, you're presumably querying many other agents. So your job is to alert the other agents that you want sort of in to throw their hat in the ring, give them a deadline, and let them read within that time and potentially come in with an offer as well.
But I'm going to throw a zinger in there as the etiquette. You also don't have to. If you don't want to, if you've talked to this agent and you're like, this is the agent I want to work with, I don't want to talk to anybody else, this is my perfect agent, you should still alert the other agents, but you don't have to give them an opportunity to offer. I strongly believe that, because if you just feel like this is the right decision for you, I don't know that I would advise that, but you can definitely make that decision. I would say as long as it's your decision and not an agent who's forcing your hand by saying you have to notify me within 24 hours, that I would consider a red flag. But if it's your decision to feel like this is the person I want to be with, you can do that.
Yeah, there's nothing in the rule book that says you have to alert everybody else. But like you said, I strongly advise it. I think it's worth it, especially in this point. Like we said, you kind of have the upper hand. Get your book to the folks that you think would also be a good fit and have the conversations. You never know what is going to shake loose for you or what you're going to learn about the process, about what an agent might be able to offer you. So even if you feel strongly about that one agent, I always recommend doing the thing, it's usually about 2 weeks, which we'll get to, but it's usually about 2 weeks. I'll send the notices, see if anybody else comes in. That agent, if they're an agent worth their salt, will still be there at the end of those 2 weeks, and they will be ready to get started.
And I think the key thing you said in that piece there for me was that you can learn more about the process. I think a really valuable thing is you can get off the phone and feel really good about somebody, but talking to more people gives you the opportunity not just to see if somebody else might be a better fit, but to have a better understanding of how many people work and how differently people can work in this business, and that one way isn't the only way. And I think that's really important when doing anything, hiring someone to mow your lawn or a lawyer or a dentist, that not everybody has the same style, and learning what different styles are can help make you feel more secure and just empower you as a business person to learn more about the business.
Yeah, but also usually these offer calls are anywhere from like 45 minutes to an hour and a half to maybe 2 hours if it's a really long one. Think of all of the things that an agent and an author work together on and do and need to sync up on. Everything doesn't always come out in that conversation, right? But what me and Jessica are two different agents. We give two different offers, we give two different, spiels and all of that. So something I say might trigger, oh, I never asked Jessica what she thinks about that.
Right.
So it's worth to have that compare and contrast and to really level the playing field and make sure you're getting all of the information that you can possibly get. I might talk to you about how I help you through the marketing and publicity stage of publishing, but Jessica's call might not have gotten there. It might have went down a different road and you had a different conversation about sales and finances or whatever. So I think getting that fuller understanding of the marketplace is only going to benefit you, even if you end up with that same agent at the end.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah. So, okay, when you are sending this notice, there are a few things that you should include in there. And there are some things that some people do that you don't have to. So, first and foremost, you need to give a deadline. That deadline is usually 2 weeks. A lot of agents won't meet shorter than that. So that's something to keep in mind. But usually 2 weeks is the standard of how much time authors will give agents to read and have those conversations.
And it's really important that you set the deadline.
Yeah.
You don't have to rely on the offering agent to tell you when they need to hear from. They don't need to hear any speed. This is your decision. It's a big one. You should set the deadline and the time you need and take the time you need to make the decision. 2 weeks is a pretty good, I think, guideline. It should give all agents the time they need and the time you need. I think if you may need a little bit of buffer afterwards, but I think if you give yourself and agents too much time, you're just making it more difficult on yourself.
It's very easy to spiral on a decision like this. So I think more than 2 weeks will result in like overthinking.
Yes, exactly.
You do not have to alert the agents of who initially offered. That's not information that you have to give others.
No, you don't need to let them know anything like that. They don't need to know.
And the last point that we wanted to discuss is who you have to notify. So presumably you have queried several people, but you might not necessarily want to have conversations with all of those agents. You might have, some folks query tiers. They have their top tier of agents that they'd want to work with. They have another tier of agents. Do you have to alert all of those agents?
No, you really don't. I think eventually you have to withdraw the submission from anybody who you don't want to alert. You can wait till after you've accepted the offer. There's nothing more frustrating than spending the time reading materials, responding to the author, wanting to see more, only to hear they signed with somebody and you now spent quite a lot of time.
Yeah, it's not fun on our end. So I think as clear as you can be with all agents considering your book is as clear as possible is the best way to go.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much everything that we wanted to chat about. But if you have questions about
I do want to add something. At the beginning, we were talking about how one agent can give you information that another agent didn't. That does not necessarily have to mean that one agent has information that the other one doesn't. Part of the etiquette of notifying the agents is also that you can have second conversations with agents. If let's say you have conversations with 5 agents and it comes down to 2 or maybe 3 and you can't decide, set up another round of phone calls. There is no limit to how many times you have to talk to an agent or can talk to an agent before making a decision. So I always say to authors, listen, when you talk to other agents, there's a real possibility that more questions might come up, that, something might come up in another conversation you want to have, you want to address with me that didn't come up in ours. Definitely, let's set up another call.
My thought too is it's not always the questions that you're asking and the answer that the agent is giving, but how they give the answers. So you just might find you feel more comfortable asking Jessica a question than asking me, or the way I answered your questions made you feel more, I don't know what the word would be, but it makes you feel like you understand it better, or it just got to you in a better way. It's not always the questions you're asking. So you can ask everyone the same amount of questions, the same type of questions, but who's giving you the answer that you were looking for, who's explaining it to you in a way that clicks, whose, tone makes you feel most comfortable. All of that does matter.
Yeah. And the one thing I would also say in terms of etiquette is when you go and accept the offer, now with whoever you accept with, you do have to notify obviously all the other agents that you've accepted another offer and thank them for theirs. You don't have to give anybody details. Now, I think also there's this sense from authors somehow led to secrecy, that they feel like they can't. I love knowing who you signed with personally. I mean, I'm going to want to know anyway. So there's also nothing wrong with being fully transparent and saying, thanks for your offer. I decided to sign with so and so, you know, but I hope we can stay in touch or something like that. There also, part of the etiquette is, just because you turn down somebody doesn't mean that you can't ever go back to them. You can't ever have a relationship with them. Some of my best relationships in this business are with authors I have never represented, but just over the course of time, still love reading their books and still built a relationship. And maybe someday they'll come knocking on my door again.
Yeah, it's not disrespectful to not, or rude, or it's not seen that way to not sign with an agent. You're
No.
faced with a business decision and you made one that you thought best aligned with you, your career, and where you want to be. So I don't think any of us really take it personally. I
We get
mean,
hurt. We get
yeah, it
bombed.
definitely sucks, but it's not like, well, I'm not gonna hold a grudge forever. You
No,
know?
in the same way, we hope that if I reject your query, you're not going to hold a grudge forever, that maybe
Right.
someday you'll come back and query me again with something else.
Agreed. Yeah.
So,
So we hope this was helpful. And if you're coming here when you have an offer, congratulations. Please follow our tips and good luck.
good luck.